Germany views Ethiopia as critical to regional equilibrium and, hence, is committed to its stability and growth, says Germany's ambassador to Ethiopia, Stephan Auer. However, Germany's strategy balances concerns for human rights with support for Ethiopia's political processes, such as the Pretoria Agreement, aimed at conflict resolutions through dialogue and negotiations, according to the ambassador. Ambassador Auer noted this perspective aligns with Germany's broader strategy for Africa, where Ethiopia is seen not only as a partner, but as an essential ally, whose success could anchor regional stability. Humanitarian aid from Germany to Ethiopia has doubled, reflecting a dedication to promoting peace and addressing the immediate needs caused by the ongoing conflicts. Germany supports economic growth in Ethiopia through direct investments and initiatives such as the Compact, with Africa engaging 12 African countries. The initiative demonstrates Germany's interest in cultivating long-term economic partnerships in Africa, with a particular emphasis on establishing conducive conditions for German small and medium-sized enterprises to operate and invest sustainably in the region, said the ambassador. However, Germany appears to hold a nuanced view on human rights issues. While advocating for the upholding of these rights internationally, the approach to Ethiopia seems more tailored, emphasizing the importance of the federal government's arguable commitment to a transitional justice mechanism. The ambassador attributed to a joint report by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission and the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, advocating for domestic avenues for addressing past abuses. Germany has put faith in the federal government's promises to prosecute human rights violations, positioning national judicial processes as fundamental to the country's path forward. Nevertheless, Ambassador Auer emphasized his country's openness to revisiting international scrutiny through the Human Rights Council, if the federal government falters. The National Dialogue, a process federal authorities argue would address the root causes of conflicts, receives Germany's full backing. The ambassador asserted the importance of inclusivity and transparency in this process, despite the criticism it faces for potentially excluding adversarial groups, such as the Tigray Provisional Authorities. He believes inclusive dialogue is vital to ensuring engagements with all parties involved in Ethiopia's multiple conflicts. Ambassador Auer is keen to have Germany's involvement seen beyond governmental levels, engaging with non-state actors, including humanitarian NGOs and human rights organizations, to support a vibrant civil society. He spoke of Germany's interest in Ethiopia's market potential, with sectors like energy, agriculture, and packaging cited as attractive for German investors. However, investment hinges on a stable environment, the rule of law, and the ability to address risks, such as the difficulty in repatriating profits due to foreign exchange crunch. The ambassador acknowledged the concerns of prospective investors from his country over financial policies that affect the repatriation of profits and reinvestment, with his hopes pinned on economic policy reforms to ease these concerns. In this second part of the interview with our managing editor Tomrit G. Georgis, Ambassador Auer addressed broader economic issues, including debt restructuring and the reform of international financial institutions. Germany participates in G20 initiatives aimed at debt relief for heavily indebted countries like Ethiopia, and supports a flexible approach to debt treatment. The call for reform in international financial institutions is acknowledged. Nonetheless, the ambassador called for more straightforward proposals from African countries on desired reforms, such as restructuring voting patterns, to address their concerns effectively.
I don't see it as a contradiction for the following reason. When the ICRI was established, it was right after or during the war. Now we have the Pretoria Agreement, and we have a joint report which was released by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission together with the OHCHR country representation here in Ethiopia. This report had some recommendations, amongst other things, the establishment of a transitional justice mechanism. The Ethiopian government, in many talks we've had with them, but also in public, they always said we are very, very committed to establishing a credible, inclusive transitional justice mechanism. And you know better than me that they have established this working group, which is in the process now of working out the principles and mechanism for transitional justice. This will then be presented to the cabinet, and then I hope that the cabinet will implement, and the whole transitional justice mechanism can start initially. So we have now a commitment of the Ethiopian government, and we have now also the willingness of the Ethiopian government to bring to justice the perpetrators of human rights violations. And this is a development which we need to recognize and we need to acknowledge. So we are confident that the Ethiopian government lives up to its commitments, and that this transitional justice mechanism will be implemented. Why am I saying that? It is much more important that the Ethiopians, that the government itself and the people bring human rights violations, war crimes, and crimes against humanity in front of their own courts. It's the ownership which matters. You have to tackle and to address these human rights violations in the past in order to be able to have a future. And I have the impression, and this is what we really hope, is that the Ethiopian government stands up to its commitments and will implement it. So this is the difference. And it doesn't mean that this issue cannot be addressed again in the Human Rights Council at a later stage, if things do not develop in the way the Ethiopian government is committed to do. Well, we are very much engaged with NGOs in various fields. When it comes, for instance, to humanitarian assistance, we work very closely together with NGOs, humanitarian NGOs. When it comes to the human rights, we also work very closely together with NGOs which defend and protect human rights. So we are very much aware and are willing to contribute to a lively civil society, because we think that this livelihood of this liveliness of a civil society contributes a lot to a vibrant political and economic order. I think there are some companies, and the German businessmen are surely on the one hand risk averse. The German economic structure is, they have a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises. We also have big companies. They're here, for instance, DHL, Siemens, they are here already in this country.
They've always been here.
They've always been here. But the backbone of the German economy are small and medium-sized enterprises. And they are risk averse, because if an investment goes wrong, then this small and medium-sized enterprises can easily face bankruptcy. So they're very risk averse. The advantage of them is, if they come, they're very interested in establishing an added value chain. They're interested in creating jobs, in training people, in transferring technology and expertise. So they are come to stay and to invest into the sustainable development of a country. So we have seen this in many other countries. But for them to come, you need a safe environment. And there's peace and stability, and you need also the protection of their investments. Rule of law, the fight against corruption, that they know that if they come here to invest, they can be sure that their investment will be protected. And this is a challenge at the moment. Packaging, agriculture, all these areas are something where there's a huge potential in this country. And I'm sure that if the environment, the legal environment, the business environment is in place, I can well imagine that a lot of companies would be interested in coming and investing in Ethiopia.